Hello, guys. Hope you are doing well. And let's get started. So welcome to the second lesson. I believe more people will join, and we've got 21, I believe, 21 homework, 22 homework assignments done. So which is really great, really great. It's a big number. Usually less people during the free course doing the homework and less motivated, but this group is amazing. A lot of people have done the homework, and which is super great. So let's get started. We will get started with the overview of your homework. I will be answering your questions, so please feel free to send a message to the chat or unmute yourself and just stop me and say, hey, Arthur, I have an answer, I have a question, and I will be just answering them as we go. So let me share my screen. Dun, dun, dun. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yep.
Good. Okay, sounds great. Okay, so I was going actually through your homework, guys. Of course, I'm not able to overview all the test cases, but I will give you my feedback. Probably I will start with some of the test cases from one spreadsheet and then switch to another spreadsheet, and we'll continue in another spreadsheet so you get my feedback for every test case. So after that, you can overview your test cases for the presence of those problems that we will discuss today. Okay, so what I do actually, how I overview your test cases, actually, I put your test cases on the left, requirements on the right, or vice versa, like side by side, and then just comparing them, making sure that you cover all the requirements and you cover them correctly. So those are two main requirements that I have. So you cover everything, so you don't miss anything, because that's important. Because if you don't cover some requirement by a test case, you are going to miss potentially a bug in the system, and it's not going to work, right? So that's why I'm making sure that you're covering everything on one side, and on another side, I'm making sure that even if you're covering that correctly. So first of all, I can say that this is the homework done by Ksenia. So I started with Ksenia, and it's done pretty well. So the requirements are covered fully, and they are covered in pretty good, using pretty good sentences, like full sentences. So I'm able to understand what I'm testing even without looking at the requirements. For example, so here we see the text area, right? Requirements. And text area, or for example, over a table. Table is the best, probably the best example. So table, and as you can see, requirements is like located in the bottom of, in the left bottom section. So Ksenia says not just located in the left bottom section, she says table is located in the left bottom section. So even without reading the requirements, I'm able to understand what I'm going to test over here, right? And I'm just like marking it pass or fail right away when I'm testing, which is very simple and very easy for me to do. Then we see the general properties, and we say text size is this. So she doesn't say just text size is this, because I will be confused. What text size, right? So she's mentioning precisely text size in the table. So I know that the text size I'm looking for, and I need to measure in the table. So this is really good example how it should be done. So you use a complete sentence. So if you're missing words for the complete sentence, you have to add them. So it makes sense. And even with reading the single requirement, you should be able to understand what's going on and what you're going to test. So this is a really good example. About bad example, this is the bad example, how to write test cases. Because so she mentioned that this is like moderate problem over here. She tests here, she covers the table header. So we describe the table header has 3 columns, right? And it should be a number, vaccine recipient, and ID, which is pretty simple. So in this case, I would say, like, ideally, you can break it down to separate test cases like we did over here, like the application consists of 4 sections. And then you mention in every single test case that the left top section is a text area, right top section is the image, and so on, because they may fail separately. And ideally, if your test case fails, it should be a single problem there. There shouldn't be multiple problems. So potentially, if you, for example, create a test case and say the application consists of 4 sections, and then you mention them, so potentially you can get multiple problems. Why? Because there can be more sections, one problem. The sections can be there, but location will be different. So for example, the text area will be on the right and in the bottom instead of like left top, right? Section, and other sections can be in other locations as well. So you will get multiple problems in a single test case. If you think that, hey, potentially I can get multiple problems here, that's a wrong test case. One test case should possibly potentially fail just in one place. For example, number of sections. And then if you're testing the location of the text area, that should be a separate test case, just only location. Then all the properties you test separately. So this is the best way to describe, to cover the requirements. Every single requirement, for example, number of sections is a single requirement. Location, specific location of each section is a separate requirement, and so on. Let me finish, Dmitry, I see your hand. So for example, in this case, see how many requirements she's trying to test in one single test case. Every line of the table body consists of place in the queue, right? Then patient's first name plus last name initial. Then ID, 4 symbols, letter and 3 digits. And ID is formed from the first letter of the vaccine name plus 3 random numbers. So potentially you can get multiple problems here. That's the problem. If you see this, because what may fail? Potentially there can be a different order of them. So that's the problem, right? So you get a one failure. Maybe there is a patient name there, but only first name, there is no initial, second problem, right? And vice versa, there can be initial, but not first name not displayed, right? And then you can get ID, but it won't be formed like this. So the way it's formed different, there is a bug, maybe there are special characters displayed, and so on. So potentially you can get like about 10 problems over here, right? In this single test case, which is wrong. So what is the best way to cover this, all of this in test cases? Granular. So make it more granular. Let's see. Let's say, for example, the table body has 3 columns as well, like header. Okay, one test case. First column is number, and it should contain number. Okay, the second column contains the name. Okay, and the name consists of first name and the last initial. Those are 2 separate test cases because it may contain name, but it may be not first name plus last name. It may be just a name. So if it contains name, partially it's correct, but there is a second problem. It doesn't contain last name initial. So you test that separately because the order is one requirement. So it's the second column, but what it contains is this separate requirement. So you test that separately. Then the third column is ID. So you test that the column number is one requirement and it contains ID, but how it's formed and if it's correct should be tested separately, right? So this requirement that ID is formed from the first letter of the vaccine and plus 3 random numbers, you actually have to fill the application, right? Get in line, click the button, fill that application, and get in the queue in order to check it. And if you select Pfizer, you're expecting to see P and 3 random numbers, right? So this is how you test it, actually. But will be a separate requirements separate from the location. So this is how the best way to test it. Why? Because you have only one failure per test case, but you can possibly get multiple failures here, which is incorrect because there should be one test case, one failure, and one bug report if you get a problem. So this makes sense. Okay, so let's stop here on Xenius. I marked you as done with the K1 homework, which is a great job. Great job, Ksenia. But in general, it looks great. If you consider the fact that it was just only one single free lesson, that's amazing. The result is amazing because it was pretty detailed and I like it. Good. So let's close yours and let's move with somebody else's. So we have Hannah. Let's open Hannah's test cases and let's scroll down to, okay, where we were testing. The body, yes, the body, table body. Every line consists of place in the queue. So, okay, this is moderate because you're testing that it should be every line has three columns, right? And you test them like place in the queue, patient's first name and last name initial. So again, so if you say that first column is a place in the queue, second is the name, and third is ID, then I'm okay. But this specific requirement that the name consists of first name plus last name plus initial, plus last name initial, it's a separate requirement, right? Because it may fail because you may get a failure because the order will be incorrect, and you may get a failure how the name is formed as well. So those are separate problems potentially. So potentially separate test cases. So this is how you think of creating test cases. If you get potentially several problems, that means you should have several test cases. One test case per potential problem. And then you test ID separately, which is great. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Then table header background, here it is. Table header properties textable. You don't have to, this is good actually, but you don't have to say something like this. You can simply say, hey, table header text is bold. So you don't have to say properties. You just use like regular language. Table header text is bold. Table header background color is la la la, right? And so on. So this is, it shouldn't be like not necessary, like strict format like you use, but it could be a regular language, just in order to understand for other people who will be reading your test cases and potentially executing them. Because it doesn't mean that if you're writing your test cases that you will be testing them. Sometimes you're writing, then you get busy with something else, and other people will just pick your test cases up and will be testing them. So it should be just fully understandable for other people. Additionally, just general suggestion for all of you guys. As I mentioned last time, you can use something like make sure that in general, the design looks the same as on design specs. So because you get some design specs over here, right? And you don't have, and why we use design specs? Because sometimes it's just very hard to describe something in text. So it's easier just to develop design, give that design to developer and say, hey, this is how it should be looking, look like, right? So just develop it like that. Plus use my explanation in text. But design is very important as well, because we try to, this is our vision, how we imagine our application, and developers will be basing on this. So it's good to, after you finish with this, add some general test case. Hey, compare the design, application design with the design specification, right? That you have in the requirements. And you test this, then you use, maybe not for the image, but you can compare the image, that the image is the same as well. And then you can say that, hey, test the table design as well and compare it with the design specification and the requirements and so on. So adding such general test cases are good as well, because you will have to make sure that design is the same. Because you can test your application according to test cases, to the requirements described in text, but it still won't match because the design matters as well. Like the spacing, right? The spacing is not described here. The spacing, how it looks in general, the shadow over here, and so on. It's not described because it's hard to describe. So that's why we have the design specs for you just to refer once you have the application and just compare how it looks like. Okay, so 222. If the table is empty, it has only header and the text. Okay, good. In case of, oh, so you don't have this test case. I don't see it. So the table, no, it has. The table is empty. It has only header and the text gets line. Good, awesome, good, awesome. The table display a maximum of 7 patients time. So how to test these guys? So for example, if I tell you guys, you need to test these 2 test cases, how many actually actions you will do? Let's say right now you have empty table. You open the application, the table is empty. So how would you test this and make sure that it works correctly? Those 2 requirements. What you actually will do, how many patients you will add to make sure that actually it behaves correctly. How many test cases you will get at the end? 8, 9. Okay, so yeah, just describe. So for example, test case number 1, what you will test. Test case number 2, what you will test. Test case number 3, what you will test. Go ahead, unmute yourself or use the chat. But of course, unmuting yourself is better because you will probably describe that quick, not like in the text. So come on, do not hesitate. Just go ahead, unmute yourself and tell what you would do. Okay, then I will ask somebody. So Anna.
Yes, hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you for asking. So how many test cases you would do here?
7, and after that 8.
So what do you mean 7 after 8? So how many test cases actually what you would do? So for example, one test case is you go to the application, do something and just mark it pass or fail. That's one test case. So how many would you test to make sure that it works correctly?
One by one. First, second, third, and finish it, I think 8.
So, okay, so for example, will you test it when you have one single user, one single patient at the table or not?
Sorry, repeat your question, please.
I mean, like, will you test the case when you have one single patient in the table?
Yes.
Okay, will you test when you have 2 patients at the table?
Yes.
Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
All of that will be fine.
Yes, one by one.
Okay, then you test 8, right?
Yes.
Will you test 9?
Maybe. Maximum is 7, and I think we need 8.
We have 2 different behaviors. When you have up to 7, it will display all of them. Once you have more than 7, which is 8 and more, then you will get specific behavior, right? When you have only 5, then ellipses, and then the last one. So how actually many patients will you enter to the table to make sure that it really works?
Okay.
The maximum number.
Maximum. I don't know.
Okay, so that's what I need to explain. But will you test 8?
10? I don't know.
Will you test 8 or not? How do you, just logically, how do you think? 8 patients.
For me, logically, it's 8. But on the picture, 12.
Yeah, but what I mean, like, it will be 12. If you have 8, it will be the same. You have 9, it will be the same. It will just display 9 over here. You have 10, it will display again 5 first, ellipsis, and the last one, which is 10. You have 200, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ellipsis and 200 over here. So behavior will be the same, but I mean, like, how many patients you will add to make sure that it really works?
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
8?
So Anna says 8. Okay, so this is the maximum. Okay, so Elise, how do you think?
I think anything more than 7. So you put like 8, and then you can put 9. It won't matter because ellipses only pops up after there's more than 7. So you can put in 8, you can put in 10.
Yeah, but my question is how many? How many more than 7? How many cases when you have more than 7 patients at a time you will test to make sure that it really works? For example, I tell you, hey, Elise, I need you to test this, and you need to make sure that it really works, or you're fired. So how many test cases you need to do here logically to make sure that it really works?
So what I would do in that place, I would put about like, let's say anything like 8 more, and then I will run a test case for every single one. So I would put 10 of them in there, 10 people or 10 names, and then I'd run a test case 10 times for each one of those.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you for the answer. So another Anna is answering in the chat and raising the hand as well. So what do you think?
I think so. Maybe I'll test for 7, then for 10, 100,000, 10,000, and 100,000.
Okay, got it. I see your answer. Thank you. And Stanislav, how do you think?
We need just only 4.
Okay, so what for?
For 0, for 1, for 7 and 8.
Okay, so this is your answer. Got it. And then Dmitry, how do you think?
Well, I believe in this particular case, because we're testing the exact, the ellipses, how it will look if it's more than 7. So I would test less than 7, 7, and 1 more than 7. So basically 3 test cases for this particular case, because I believe that later on we will test when it's going to be another test about how it looks when it's no patients or whatever. So I would put like 3 test cases here.
Okay, so 3 test cases. Got it. Okay, so actually all of you are partially right. So, but the answer is very simple actually. And I just was asking you to ask logically, but the logic is hidden in the coding, not in the requirements, but in how we code this statement in the code. And I hope that most of you participated in JavaScript lesson, so you will understand more right now how it works and why we need that amount of test cases that I will mention. So some of you said that we need 0. Yes, we need to test 0 for this specific case when the table is empty. So that's correct. But we don't have to test 1. And I will explain why. And we don't have to test 6. We don't have to just test 7 and 8. So we test 0 for this, for just the case when table is empty, because this is a specific case. Hey, when there is a 0, this is how table looks like. But to test this guy, how the table behaves when we have more than 7, you need just 2 test cases, 7 and 8. And I will explain why. You don't have to test 6, and you don't have to test 9, and you don't have to test 100 and 1,000 and etc. Because you will catch the problem when you just test 7 and 8, and that's it. And I will explain why. And this is one of the test design techniques that we'll be learning. So we need JSBin, the tool that you already used, and I will show you how it works. So let's say let patients. It will be patients equal to 7. Let's say 7. And then if if number of patients, what should I type here? If number of patients to display the table, the whole table without ellipses. So what should I put right now? If the number of patients more or less than equal, what should I put? What is the statement?
More than 7.
Equal?
No. To display the whole table without ellipses.
More
Less or equal to 7.
Less or equal than 7. This is what we expect to display the entire table, right? And let's say console log. Am I right? Whole table. And then else I say console log ellipses. And that's it. This is how the code is created. So if it works correctly, let's say you have 1, it will be whole table. You got 2, it will be whole table. You got 7, it will be whole table. But once you get 8, you get ellipses, 9 ellipses, you get 1, 3, you get million, it will be still ellipses. So code works very simple. This is the main place where error happens. So, and what is the problem? For example, developer just forgets to put equal. So when you test 7, you got ellipses. And you catch the problem because it will work for 6, right? For 6 will be the whole table, but for 7, you get ellipses. So actually, you just test one test case, which is number 7, and you get ellipses. There is an error. You report bug right away because you don't expect ellipses for 7, and you don't care. Maybe it works for 6, it works for 5, but according to requirements, it should work for 7, and that's it. You get problem right away, right? And you test 8, you also get ellipses. And then you can, of course, investigate and see, try 5 and see that it works for 5, it works for 6. But what matters here, once you have this code, because developer made mistake, and you test 7, one single test case, you got ellipses, which is incorrect, and you got the problem right away. So this is one thing. For example, the second thing, what may happen, developer said more and equal than 7, for example, right? And so on. So you test 7, it works, nice. But then you test 8. Oh, wait. More than equal than 7, then whole table, and then you test 8. Oh, sorry, I'm changing the wrong number. So you test 7, you got the whole table, which is correct. You test 8, you get whole table without ellipses. So you again catch the problem because you expect ellipses in the second case, right? So since the problem happens on the boundary, so it always, developer will either use number 8 or 7 because that's the requirement, right? Usually 7. If it's mentioned number 7 over here, developer will use this number in the if-else statement. So the problem always will be on the boundary. So no matter what, developer will say less than equal than 8, for example, right? But it should be less than 8, but maybe it's used less than equal than 8 and so on. So if there is an error over here, you will get number 7, you get correctly, whole table. Number 8, you test number 8 and you expect ellipses in your case, right? You expect ellipses, but then you get whole table. So in any case, in case of any error that developer makes on the boundary, you don't have to test a lot of test cases. You need just 2 test cases on the boundaries. And let me probably help you to visualize that. Paint on line. So you can imagine that case in your head just by probably drawing like a line or something like that. Yeah, so let's do that. So imagine the line of all the possible values. So we got 0, and you get specific case for that. So we ignore that. But you have, so when you have 0, you have a separate test case, and let's ignore it. So the possible cases for those 2 test cases for this functionality is from 1 to 7. 1 to 7. Oh man, let me just clear that out. 7, and then this is the boundary, and then 8, bam, 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 and infinity, right? So everything, including 8 and after, should have ellipses, and everything here should whole table. So what you need is just one value from from one class, data class, and second from the second class, and they the closest to the boundary. So when you have boundary over here between them, so this is all the values that will be displaying the whole table. This is all the values that will be displaying the table with ellipses. So you don't have to test multiple. Just remember, you test only these two guys, and that's it. This is how it works actually. So you don't have to test 1, because 1 and 7 should behave the same, because developer won't use 1 in his statement, won't use anything else. It will use he will use or she will use 7. So the correct thing here, it should be less than equal than 7. This is the correct statement. Developer may make mistakes, but all the mistakes will be catched just by 2 test cases, when you use 7 and when you use 8, and you will catch them for sure. For sure. The design technique calls boundary value testing. Boundary value testing. Okay, and that's it. That's it. This is all you need to know. Sometimes there is more. For example, for some in some cases we test. We have, like, for example, the field length. For example, username. You have a username field that you fill in when you register in some website, and the expected length is from 7 to, for example, 100 symbols, and everything is more is not accepted. So 101 is not accepted, and 6 is not accepted. So you test only 1, 2, 3, and 4 test cases. Somebody says, oh, you have to test something in the middle. No, you don't have to, because it doesn't make sense, because the developer will use in code if the value is more than equal than 7 and less and equal than 100. So if those both statements work, so the value should be more or equal than 7, and at the same time less and equal than 100. So only in that case that input will be accepted. So accepted, accepted, not accepted, not accepted, right? And that's it. You test only boundaries. So in this case, we have only 1 boundary, and we have only 2 values, 7 and 8. And that's it. This is all you need to do. So, and in test cases, that's what you mentioned. Add 7 patients to the table and make sure that the whole table is displayed. So you can say the whole table displayed, something like view only. I cannot even comment, but it should be the whole table displayed when there are 7 patients in the table. And then the next test case, the first 5 patients plus ellipses and plus the last patients displayed when there are 8 patients, and that's it. The 2 test cases. And of course, don't forget about this one, but this is separate requirement. It's a separate requirement, so you test it separately for 0 patients. That's it. So this is how you test it. You didn't know that, but I especially didn't tell you last time because I wanted you to think logically. And in this case, we have 2 test cases, which is correct, but it should be described differently. It should be saying that table, the whole table displayed when you have 7 patients at a time, not maximum, because maximum means I can enter 5 or 6 or 3 or 2. No, the whole table is displayed when you have 7 patients. This is one test case. You exactly enter 7. And then the table in this view with ellipses displayed when you have 8 patients. That's it, 2 test cases. So good. So that was done by Hannah. So let me mark your homework done as well, Hannah. And we have Stanislav. And let me just probably check a few more things. Oh, Stanislav over here. Okay, comments only. Good, good, good. Verify that image is according to attached design. Okay, so page design. Okay, got it. Awesome. So we have these 2 here. The design, you testing design here. Okay, okay, got it. Good job. Yeah, maybe you're fixing this right now, which is okay. This is what you need to do. That's correct. I'm providing you feedback and you're just testing that right away. So, okay, okay. Get in line button, where you get in line button, okay. Oh, I don't see that you test the location. Getting line button. So getting line button located in the center of the right bottom section. And you can scroll up and see, okay, this is the right bottom section and it's in the center. So this is what you test. This is what you need to test in the center of the right bottom section. So I don't see that one. I see the label, I see color, I see size, background color.
Is this case in the very top, fifth one? This one.
The right bottom section is getting, but yeah, but you don't test. So this case, I agree, but this case specifically also says that it's located in the center of that section. So you can say that you can add it here as well, in the center of the right bottom section.
Ah, got you.
So this is what is important as well. Okay, then got it. Yeah, good. Good that you remember where you define the test case. That's really good. Okay, pop-up is opened. Okay, good. In the center of the screen. Good. Appears in the center of the screen. Disappears. Disappears if click it outside or on cancel. So those are two test cases. So I specifically say, because I'm as a business analyst, I use my regular language. Business analyst doesn't have to know how to create test cases. So business analyst will be using regular language and may be mentioning several requirements in one sentence. And for you, it's really important to break down that to separate test cases. For example, what happens if you click the cancel, it works, but when you click outside, it doesn't work. One failure. Let's say vice versa. You click outside, it works. You click cancel, it doesn't work. You have the separate failure. So you have two failures in this case, two possible failures. So it should be two separate test cases. It's closed when you click outside, one test case. It's closed when you click cancel. It's a separate test case because those are two different functionalities. And those will be two different codes. On development side, developer will create one function for cancel button and one function for clicking outside. Those will be two different handlers, how to handle this close, right? So for you, it should be two different test cases. And you just logically, again, remember, logically you think, how many problems I can get here? What if I click outside if it doesn't work? And I click cancel, it works. So you get one problem, but vice versa, you click outside, it works, you click cancel, it doesn't work. So you get two potential problems here because cancel button may not work and outside clicking may not work. So that's why you need to create two separate test cases for this case. Let me lower the hand, lower hand, and lower hand. Good. Okay. So this is actually good over here. So this is another case, what I was mentioning. So we had to use boundary value conditions over here as well. When you test the field. So I was mentioning that you need to imagine, again, let me open the paint and line. Paint line. So we get this requirement when we say that the field name input accepts 1 to 100 any symbols, and they are required, so they cannot be empty. So 0 means empty. 0 is not accepted, right? So you can imagine this case again. So you have this line, you have 0, and let's say it will be error message. You have 1, you have something, and you have 70, and then you have 71 and more, and you have error over here and accepted over here. Accept over here. So how many test cases you should create here for this case?
4.
4 test cases. That's correct. You try 0, which is empty field, it should be error message. You try 1, it should be accepted. You try 70, it's accepted. You try 71, it's not accepted. So this is correct, and this is exactly how Stanislav did, which is great. Awesome. So that's it. This is pretty much it, and the rest of the stuff is pretty simple. You just actually keep either copying and pasting and making that a full sentence, or you can then use test design techniques in such weird cases when you need to think, how many test cases do I need? So in this case, yes, when you see something like this, you think right away, hey, how many actually test cases will be here? What actually length of the input will be in each case? So then you imagine this line, they say, okay, so 0 is not accepted, 1 is accepted, 70 is accepted, and 71 is not accepted. And you take those 4 cases, and that's it. But you need to, you can either use paint if it's easier for you, or you can just imagine that in your head, but it's same thing. So you need to understand that you test on the boundaries all the times. 1 is the first that accepted, 0 is the first that is not accepted. On this boundary, 70 is the last one that accepted, 71 is the first one that is not accepted, and so on, right? So you just test those cases. And since the developer will be using these numbers in the code, you will catch the problem for sure if you test only those 4. You don't have to test anything else, because either if the developer makes something that will accept 79 but doesn't accept 70, when you enter 70, it will be not accepted. You will see error message, which is not expected, and you will report bug. So in any case, if developer makes mistake in symbol or in a number, you will get this problem. You will catch it by just testing boundaries. And this is the theory behind this design test design technique, because in the code, we use these numbers. And if there is a problem, it will happen if you test only those 4, because this is what we expect. And this is what the problem will happen. Got it. So Stanislav, I will mark you 2, and I will actually overview all the other test cases and add you to my all of you to my document as well. Hey, did I close my table? Homework. Yeah, I closed my homework table. So I will add you guys to my table as well. All of you who completed the homework. Some people may send me homework later, so I will overview your test cases as well. But those are the few main things that we just wanted to discuss. In general, it looks great. The job you did looks great. I will provide if I see something outstanding in overviewing other test cases, I will just personally let you know, saying that, hey, that was totally incorrect and this is what you need to fix. But in general, what I see, everything is very good, because mostly you're just doing copy pasting and making that the full sentence, so everybody understand by just reading the single test case what you're actually doing in testing, and then just using test design techniques in some specific cases. And that's it. This is how simple it is. So yeah, you need to learn more. You need to learn more test design techniques how to use in some specific cases. But in general, this is just for you to have like general understanding what software tester does and how it's done. So let me remind you this. So remember, right? So we as a testers, we go through few like steps during the sprint, during the cycle, because usually right now we work in cycles when developing the applications. So usually it's 2 to 3 week cycles. So we take some requirements, some scope of our sprint, of our cycle, then we try to develop that and then release to our customers, and our customers get updates. So you can get update from Apple, right? On your iPhone, you see them, new update available. So people were just working during some sprint. Maybe they have a month sprint, month cycle, month-long cycle. And every month you get some update. You get Tesla, you get updates often as well. So people just get some specific requirements. Maybe you have some bug reports you want to fix, right? Your customers reporting, hey, we have some problems, and you would like to improve the behavior of your application. So you create the requirements for that, you create the scope of that cycle, and everything that you will fix will be delivered to the customers at the end of the cycle. So first of all, you work on the requirements. You make sure that you understand everything that you're going to deliver to the customers after the sprint, right? And then you're asking questions, and until you get that full understanding. So once you have full understanding, you go and do the test planning. That's what you did, right? You did a test planning to cover every requirement by a test case to make sure that you test it and make sure that it behaves correctly as we expect. And again, remember, business analyst can describe just the requirement in regular words, but your goal as a professional to break down that to separate requirements and cover that by separate test cases. Business analysts may say, hey, this field should accept from 5 to 100 symbols, and it will be one single line in the requirements. But your goal as a professional will be to breaking down to 4, 500, and 101 to those 4 test cases, right? So this is your goal as of now. Then what you will do, and you will start doing today, you will start testing. You will open the application on one side, your test cases on the left side, side by side, and you will start executing your test cases, which is like going through them and marking them pass or fail. And then once you get fail, you will do the bug reporting. And that's it. This is what you will go through during the cycle. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to start testing the application. And then in case if you find bugs, start reporting them. So first of all, I will start with explaining you what is the bug report, how to create it once you find it, and so on. Any questions so far until I start showing you the presentation? Let me have some tea. Okay, no questions in the chat. No questions asked by voice. So let me then start. Let me actually open the chat. I don't see it. Where's the chat? No, I don't see it. It's over here. Okay, got it. I see the chat. No questions. So let me start. So this is, we did the homework review already. Now we need to just check what is a bug report. And it's very simple. It's just mismatch between expected result and actual result. So expected result, as you can see here, you're getting that from the documentation, from test cases actually, because what you will be doing is just going through test cases and testing them, like make sure that the text size is this, the color is this. So I will show you how to test that because you don't know that yet, like how to test color, for example, right? But you will show you. But once you get the mismatch between what you expect and what is exactly actually in the application, that's a bug, right? If, for example, a requirement says the font size should be 50 pixels and you get 25 pixels, is that a bug or not?
Yes.
It's a bug because you expect 50 and you get 25. That's what you're trying to find. You're trying to find bugs. Okay, let's say you expect that that button getting line should be located in the center of the right bottom section, and you tested it. It is located in the center of the right bottom section. Is that a bug or not?
No.
Not a bug.
Of course, it's not a bug. So if your expected result and actual result matching, that's not a bug. If they are not matching, if you see the difference, that's a bug. And this is simple, right? So this is how the simple bug report looks like. As I mentioned, we on our main course, we do that in Azure DevOps. So this is how bug report form looks in Azure DevOps. So the main parts of the bug report are short summary. And we will right now, I will explain you how to actually create a very good short summary, because short summary is very important. Why? Because let's say I'm looking for some specific bug in the system that it's already, it was, maybe I remember that like a few weeks ago, I reported one bug and I would like to find it. I will be using search, but in search, I will have a list of bugs. So if my short summary is descriptive enough and clear enough for me to understand the problem, I don't have to click every single bug to open it and to understand which was the one I'm looking for, right? So that's why summary is very important, because usually summary is the only information we see in the list of bugs or when we're using search. And when it's descriptive enough to describe the problem, then it's good enough. And I will tell you the rules how to create the ideal bug report. Okay, and then we have steps to reproduce. Steps to reproduce is just the steps, how to get from the initial state when you open the app to that place when you get a bug. Sometimes it's very simple, just open the app and you see the bug, because for example, there are 6 sections and we expect 4 sections, and sometimes some specific cases, steps needs to be done to be able to get that bug. For example, you need to click the get in line button in order pop-up opens, and when you click outside the pop-up, you expect that pop-up to be closed, right? And it's not closed. So you have to specify the steps. Open the app, click the get in line button. Once pop-up is open, click outside, right? And then actual result. Pop-up remains open, expected result, pop-up is closed. And that's it. So you get those 5 things, 4 things, and additional one is attachment. Sometimes in order to show the problem, you make a screenshot, or if it's a very weird and hard to reproduce bug, you even record video to show that bug, how to reproduce it. So actually attachment is very important in order to show the developer how to reproduce it. And it's very important, again, for the same reason why we work on the requirements, in order to save time. If it's clear enough for developer how to reproduce that bug, and you have a nice, beautiful screenshot, and you add like red arrow pointing to the problem, right, or something like that, so developer can open and just quickly see the problem without need to ask you or trying to reproduce it for a long time, right? You save time. So you invest your time because you are professional, and it's easy for you to create a screenshot and put in red arrow, right? It's easy. So if you can do that to help developer to save their time, then you save the time for development team, your time, because developer may reach out to you to ask you a question, and you will have to spend time to explain developer and so on. So you save time for yourself, for your colleagues, for the company, for developers, and you save money, right? Eventually. So this is your goal, to save money and to improve the quality of the software. So that's why attachments are very important. And again, since the bug is just the mismatch between the expected result and the actual result, the mismatch over here should be very clear. The difference between them should be very clear. Because this is the problem, right? So if, for example, if I mentioned the problem that when you click, the pop-up remains open and the expected result, it should be closed, that's eventually like very clear, right? In actual result, it remains open. In expected result, it should be closed, right? And so on, it should disappear. Okay, ideal bug report. It's not a poem. Use simple technical English. Yeah, so I remember the story from my past when I was working back in Ukraine. I just started my career, and my English was like intermediate. It was pretty simple English, and it was. And I had my friend who was working as a QA as well, and we were actually sitting in a small room. We were just 2 QA people sitting in the same room, and he had a very good English, and he was trying all the times. He was trying to use some complex words, some words that used by some scientists and so on, right? And people were just coming, developers who also had like intermediate English, sometimes no English at all, because sometimes there were good developers, but they didn't have a good English. So nobody put them like on some leading positions to interact with the customers and use English, but they were very good developers, and they just were using Ukrainian or Russian and just coding, right? Because they were very good developers. So they were coming to him and asking so many questions. Hey, what do you mean here? What I want need to do here to reproduce the bug? So he was wasting so much time, but just using like complex words. Just he was using his English because he was really good at that, right? He was very good at that, but actually his problem was that he was wasting the time, and developers were coming to him. I was sometimes asking him questions. Hey, what do you mean here? Because I'm trying to reproduce your bug and I just don't understand the problem here. So just use simple technical English. You don't have to use something very, very, very complex, some words just you can just hear only from some scientist discussions or something like that. No, just simple words. As you can see here, open the app. The application means like inspect the login page, click the button, open that, close that, And that's it. Very like, maybe you need just only like 100 or maybe 200 words, and that's it. That's it. That's all you need to do testing, right? Oleg is asking, could you please explain priority and severity? Unfortunately, it's not a in scope of our free lesson. Of course, we explained that during the main course, but imagine I have like 3 months course and trying to explain you that course in just 2 lessons. It's very, of course, I cannot explain everything, all the test design techniques, priority, severity, add you to the project. I cannot do that because I just don't have time for that. So it's not for you for today, because for today and for the last lesson, my goal is just to explain you how it works in general. But what is priority, what is severity, how to define it, how to choose correct priority and severity, that's another topic. And unfortunately, it's just a part of the main course, not the free course. Okay, again, use simple English. Do not waste your time and do not make trouble for other people. Okay, and remember, summary, right? I mentioned the summary is very important because this is what we look for when trying to search for bugs, right? And if the summary is bad, you actually have to open every individual bug in order to find the one you're looking for, which is taking your time. You're wasting time. You have to click it. It takes some time to load. Then you read it. Oh, it's not what I'm looking for. You close it. And imagine how much time you spend for that. So again, everything we do is just to save time and eventually save time and save money for the company at the end. So you try to be efficient. And this is what makes your search and looking and like building reports simple, because every individual bug will have unique and very descriptive summary that will explain the problem even without need to open the bug. So there is a 3W rule for a short summary. So your summary needs to answer 3 questions: what happened, where it happened, and when it happened, or under which circumstance, right? Sometimes it doesn't answer one of them, right? Because eventually, for example, if you open the application and your image is not displayed, right? Your image is not displayed. So when you have multi-page application, then you mention which image and on what page. So you said, what exactly happened? Image is missing, right? Image is missing. Where? Here you can say on the main page. But if you have one single page, you don't have to say that because there is no other page. So if there is a single image, which we have in our application, you don't have to answer where. But once you have 2 locations or more locations, you need to say where exactly that happens. For example, you have registration form and you have login form. And in both forms, you have actually your username field, right? So if that field is missing in registration form, so you need to say the username field is missing on the registration form, right? And then your developer knows exactly where it's missing. But imagine you say username field is missing. Developer thinks right away. Developer will think, oh, I know the username in the login form. Opens, everything is displayed. Developer will type you a message, hey, I see the username field, and makes a screenshot, sends to you. Then you try to read it. Hey, username field is available over here, is displayed over here. What does he mean? I was not asking about this field. You go to developer or call him, hey, I was not asking you about this guy. So what do you mean? Oh, I'm working on your bug report here, and sends you a link. You open that bug report and realize that developer is talking about your bug report, but you were describing registration form. But developer sent you a screenshot from login form, right? Since you didn't mention this, you were just confused. And right now you just wasted like maybe 30 minutes of your and developer's time. Just multiply that by but how much you make per hour, how much developer makes per hour. And this is how much money you just burn for the company. Just wasted the money because you just didn't mention the location. That's why again, this is very important. to make your work efficient because you are professional and you have to know this. But again, under which circumstances? In this case, you can skip this because it's always missing. You just open that page and it's missing. But if you need to do specific thing to get that state, then you need to mention it, all the questions. For example, the registration form remains open on the user, for example, registration form remains open on the, let's say we have some specific page for it. We have several locations that we can open the registration form from. Let's say on the checkout, in the checkout process, when user clicks outside of it. So for example, our requirement says when user clicks outside of the form, it should be closed. That pop-up should be closed, right? So it's open. It's open during the checkout because there is another registration form that you can navigate from login page, but there is another during the checkout when, for example, guest doing the checkout, and then at the end we show the registration form to register in the system. So registration form is closed successfully if you go to registration page from login, but if you do that during the checkout, we have a pop-up. And that pop-up should be closed when you click outside. But in this case, it's not closed. So you get a problem only for the registration form during the checkout, right? So you mentioned what, where, and when. What? Registration form remains open during the checkout when you click outside of it. So you answered all those three questions. And this is how it's done. This is how you define the best summary, short summary, by answering all those three questions. But remember again, if where it doesn't make sense because you have a single page, as in our case, you don't have to mention it, right? And if when doesn't make sense because it's always, for example, some element is just missing. For example, if you open our application, an image is missing, you don't have to say when because it's always missing. You just say, hey, image is missing in the where will be in the right top section, right? So what image is missing in the right top section? So you answer what and where, but not when because it's always missing, right? So, but again, you always try to answer all those three. But in case you don't have an answer for one of them, it's okay if you don't have an answer for one of them. But you always try to answer all of them three. And in that case, you will always have a great summary. And even from reading that summary, you will be able to understand the problem. For example, even take that case that I described. Registration form is not closed during the checkout once you click outside of it. So even from reading the summary, you already understand the problem. You don't have to even open it, read steps, reproduce, expect the result, actual result, see the video. You don't have to do that because you already understand the problem. So this is the best summary, the example of the best summary that you can create. So you're able to understand the problem just from reading the summary, even without opening the bug. This is how it works. Okay, let's imagine the case. You found the bug report. First of all, you make a screenshot. And this is what I would like to show you, how to make a screenshot. Why it's important to make a screenshot right away? Because sometimes you just reload the page and you're not able to reproduce it. And you don't have like a proof that you really had a bug, on that page. But maybe developers saw the problem there as well. And once you have a proof, you have something to report bug based on, right? So you have something to prove that you found something. But once you forgot to make a screenshot, you just reload the page, try to reproduce, and you're not able to reproduce, you don't have a bug. And you don't have a proof that there is something broken, and at least to investigate that, right? So you create a screenshot. What I'm using personally to make a screenshot, so actually on Mac, making a screenshot is very simple. You can click Command-Shift-4. And on my screen, I'm not sure if you see, I see this cross chair on my screen, and then I can do this. Are you able to see my selection right now? That is selection?
Yes.
Okay, this is, on Mac, if you click Command-Shift-4, you will get this. It works by default. On Windows, you have a print screen button, but I believe print screen just creates a screen of the entire screen, and copy that to, I forgot how that thing called. So you can paste it. For example, it just makes a copy of the screen, but you have to paste it somewhere. So if you open, for example, Paint on Windows, for example, on Windows, you click print screen and then paste it in Paint. You open Paint and then paste it. That will work, but that's not the best way. There are applications that you can install and use for the screenshot making. So what I'm using is a light shot. Why I'm using this guy? Because it has a built-in, so let me, about light shot screenshot, learn more over here. So just look for the light shot. As you can see, here is the URL, but you can just light shot. You can search for a light shot. You will find this tool and you can download it either from Mac or Windows over here. I install it. Then what I do is just take a screenshot, select. Do you see a selection right now or not? Probably you don't.
Yeah, we see.
Yes.
Yes. No, it's good. And then I can select some arrows over here. Do you see that what I'm selecting? Arrows over here and the squares. Do you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is how it works actually. And this is why I'm using this. There are other tools to, I believe this guy is free. There are other tools to record the video. The screen recording. You can just Google recording apps for Windows or for Mac and so on. Most of them will be, especially for video, will be paid subscriptions. There will be some trial versions, but will be paid. But usually company provides you, when you work for the company, they provide you a license for that software. So you shouldn't be having problems with that. So usually it's, I forgot how the tool called. On Mac, it's also simple for me because there is a built-in possibility. You open QuickTime Player, and there is a new screen recording file, new screen recording on Mac. I don't remember how to do that in Windows, but I can select. Oh, it actually started recording video right away. You can see it over here, and here it is. So I recorded the video and everything else. So it's very simple on Mac. QuickTime Player, it's default application on Mac. Then file, new screen recording, and there is, oh, how to make this toolbar over? There is a toolbar. Hey, I cannot move it. I don't know why. There is a toolbar that I can create a selection. I would like to create a video over here, for example, record the video over here, and then click the button record. So I can actually record only from this selection, right? And then just stop it. And then I have a video of this selected part of the screen, right? So very simple on Mac. On Windows, I don't believe that there is a built-in screen recorder in terms of video, I mean. But for the screenshots, you can simply install the light shot. It will help you in 99% of the cases, because videos we use just only in case if there is a really weird bug that has some specific steps to reproduce. But in most of the cases, color is not correct, or button location is incorrect, or image is missing, or something else, right? You don't have to create a video because it's obvious, it's easier to reproduce. So video, so a screenshot, actually regular screenshot will help you in 99% of the cases. You don't have to take care of video. But if you have Mac, use QuickTime Player. If you have Windows, either company will provide you the software for that, or you will just find something. They are not expensive, even if you have to buy it on your own, but the amount of money you will get from the company usually gives you the possibility to even pay for your own video recording software. So don't worry about that. You will get enough money to buy it even on your own. Okay, got it. Oh, the second says reproduce and make sure that you are in the right environment. This is important because sometimes you create a screenshot, you report bugs right away, and then you are not able to reproduce it. Why? You don't know, because sometimes it's a weird bug that happened because of and you're not able to reproduce. You don't know why. but you have a screenshot or you have a video recording as a proof, and you can report the bug. But then you try to reproduce it. And of course, in most of the cases, you will reproduce it because the bugs will be obvious. The color is incorrect, or the text size is incorrect, or something like that. So they will be obvious and you will be able to reproduce. And right environment means usually we have more than one environment. For example, you have a Facebook, it's a live environment where real customers coming to you and using it, right? But you will have a separate QA environment that you will be using for testing, right? So there can be a separate environment for development and so on. So there can be multiple environments, and you may have an access to many of them. And sometimes you just forget that for example, developer told me, hey, can you take a look? I made some fix in development environment. I'm going to deliver it to QA environment. But before I'm doing that, I don't want to break anything. Can you please check how I did? And you go to development environment, tested something there, and forget to close it. It just opens. You went to lunch, then you come back and continue testing other stuff in development environment. And then you're facing such weird problems. You start reporting them, and then nobody can reproduce them in QA environment. And then you realize that you were testing this in dev environment, right? And actually in QA environment, there are no problems. So you reported a couple bugs, you wasted time, you wasted the time of the developers that were trying to reproduce them and so on. So just make sure that you are in the right environment if you have multiple. And also try to minimize number of steps to reproduce, because maybe you got to that place using like a long way, right? And you got to the place that has like just few steps to reproduce, like maybe open the app and click on that button on that page. But maybe to get that problem, you went through multiple pages before, and it's not necessarily reproduced by going through all the pages. It will be reproduced if you directly go to that page, and it will be reproduced. So just minimize this number of steps to reproduce. You don't have to have a long steps to reproduce section in your bug report. Just if there is a 1 step or 2 steps to reproduce a bug, just minimize this number of steps and then report it. Okay, so best practices before we start. Summary in steps to reproduce should be short but descriptive. Again, summary, as I mentioned, should answer 3 questions. But sometimes people write a summary as long as 3 sentences. Like, when I go to this place, then this happens and blah, blah, blah. No, again, try to be short at the same time, but answer those 3 questions. And maybe try to remember that case that I described, like, hey, pop-up. So so what happens? Pop-up is remaining open during the checkout when you try to click outside of it. That's it. You don't have to, hey, when I do this and go to checkout, then I try to open the pop-up, and then when I click outside, it remains open. So it will be a long sentence, right? So don't do that. It should be short but descriptive as well, answering those 3 questions. Okay, should I report the bug if I was not able to reproduce? Yes, I think you still, if you're not sure, if it's a minor bug, like it's not something important. For example, you saw one time that color was not correct, the text color was not correct. It doesn't matter. Even if the color will be a little bit darker or will be brighter, it will not affect the customer satisfaction, right? It will not affect how customers use your application. So again, it's all about logic. But if you found the bug that the system is crashing and customer is not able to use the system anymore, and then you just cleared your cache and cookie in browser and it's not reproduced, I would still investigate that. I will still report the bug and explain, hey, I catch this problem, but when I tried to reproduce by clearing cache and cookie, it was not working. So maybe there is a case when customer has specific cache and cookies, and then the system will hang out, right? And you will have total blocker. So I will still report that bug because that's important problem, right? But in case if you just found some minor problem, you're not able to reproduce, just forget about it. So it really depends how important that problem is. Okay, again, as I said, the difference between actual and expected results should be clear, because that's actually about the bug. It's all about the bug. So bug is the difference between actual and expected. So the difference should be clear, and actually expected result should be well defined, because from my story, from my career, from my past, so we were using some third-party company when I was working in Ukraine. There were people from India, and they were just coming once a month to do the regression testing. So they were doing testing, and they didn't know the system pretty well. So they had some 3,000 test cases they were executing, but they didn't know the system pretty well. So we were the main people who were working on the requirements and knowing the system pretty well, because we knew everything, how it should behave, but they didn't know. So if I test something and I say, hey, this button color is not correct, and the correct color should be, and this is the code, or the correct button color is yellow, for example, or blue or something like that, right? So I will define that based on the requirements, because I get the requirements from the my test case, from actual requirements document. I get that expected result from there. But they were saying something like should be correct, and developer opens the bug and says should be correct. Button color is incorrect, and expected result should be correct. And how do you fix it? You have to actually find what is the correct color. You have to go and look for the requirements and so on. So actually, that's why there should be clear, the difference should be clear, and they should be defined clearly. You need to mention clearly what is expected result, not just should be correct, but exactly what you're expecting. The expected color, the expected size, the expected location, the expected behavior, and so on. So because you have the requirements, you have the test cases based on the requirements, and you have the exact expected result. And that expected result should be used in the requirements, because the developers will trust you. They know that, okay, these guys know the expected result. So I don't have to open the requirements. I will just use expected result because they trust you, that you know them. And if you make mistake in the expected result, they will make a mistake as well, because they will fix according to your expected result. So you have to be that professional, that making sure that expected result is actually correct and expected result is implemented in the system. Yes, Vyacheslav, I see you raising a hand.
Yes, Artur. You say that the developer going to be trust us, I mean, like test engineers, but I thought that they have to read the requirements before, I guessing.
Yeah, they will be reading requirements as well, but unfortunately, it's not ideal, right? So why you can ask why you need testers. Ideally, you can say, hey, developers work on the requirements and create ideal application with no bugs, right? But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Our world is not ideal. Developers are not creating ideal applications. We still get bugs, and we still get testers, right? And some people say, hey, probably there will be no testers tomorrow. No, unfortunately, world is not ideal, and developers, they try to focus on coding more because they get paid more. So they need to use their skills, and less work on documentation, more work on coding. So you need to, as a company, you will think, hey, I need some other people who will control all of that. That's why there are us who are making sure that there are good requirements, and we are preventing bugs by that. And we like make everything work, right? We just say, hey, this is not expected. I don't like the behavior. As a user, I test the system. I don't like how it behaves, right? So you will be the person who will be making everything work, who will bring everything together and say, hey, this is how it should work. And yeah, you will be building that trust. Maybe developers won't trust you since day one, but you will be building that trust and saying, hey, I have a suggestion, I have that, I found that. And once you find few important problems, you suggest good fixes. You say, hey, I found one weird thing here. Requirements are not described well. So you will work with business analysts, and developers will say, hey, this guy is really working pretty good. making sure that the requirements are good, and it helped us a lot. Remember what kind of requirements we had like a month ago, and see how they look right now. So this guy really helped us, right? And they will start trusting you. They will see the difference. If you come to the company and make a difference, believe me, they will trust you. They will be cooperating with you, and they will be they will have an honor working with you. But again, you have to be professional, right? It doesn't mean that you come to a company and just sit and do nothing. You have to change. You have to change something. So you see the changes. So they see the changes, and they will start trusting you. And that's actually a problem here in the United States. I don't see a lot of professionals in QA field. A lot of people just come, for example, with their spouses. Some spouse got a job in IT company and says, hey, go write the resume, 15 years. You don't have to just put 15 years. You don't have to learn anything. Go and do manual QA, for example. And companies hire sometimes such people, and they don't know. They may be, you may teach them how to do test cases, how to do bug reporting, but they don't understand how it works actually in general, right? Why you work on the requirements, why you try to create a good summary, because they don't understand the whole picture, that you save time, you save company, you try to keep the process efficient, right? And if you knowing this, come to the company, and that happened to me, right? I come to company, in my past, I joined the company as a middle. So I had my first experience as a junior tester. Then I joined a second company in my career as a middle engineer. And I became lead in just 4 or 6 months. And there were people working there for 7 years saying, hey, how could you do that? I'm working here for 7 years, senior engineer, and you are now my lead. How is that possible at all? Because they were just doing the day-to-day job without understanding how it works in general. But I just knew that. So my manager saw that and say, hey, you will be a lead because you understand the whole picture, why we do this, how to be efficient, how to make the process work, and so on. So if you have that understanding, you will have a good career, but you have to have that understanding. And unfortunately, there is not a lot of people to explain that, because most of the schools, they are focused on just take the money from you, give you some basics, so you can get a job, and that's it. And you come to a company, and those people come, they get a job, and they are able to create test cases. They are able to report bugs, but they are not able to understand why. This is the main question, why we are doing this. Not just to get money at the end of the month, right? We do this because there is a purpose, because there is a reason how you improve, how you make a change. Because your work is not important if you just write test cases and report bugs. It's not important. Your work is important if you save money for the company, if you make the processes efficient, right? If you save somebody else's time and the company's time in general. That's why it makes your role important. Otherwise, you are not important, and you can be fired easily, right?
Thank you.
And you have to be proactive as well, of course. This is one of the main, if people ask me during the interview, hey, what kind of the person you're looking for? My answer is always proactive, the first thing, because my biggest problem in my career, the all people I managed, most of them are people that you have to babysit. They are not able to make their own choices, to be proactive on their own, right? And you have to like babysit them, and so that's my biggest problem. So yeah, if you ask me a question, hey, what is your ideal candidate? Probably the first word I will say that it's proactive. Yeah. Okay, so the attachment, don't forget about the attachment, because they will save time. Again, saving time. If you get better, if you spend additional 5 seconds to make a screenshot and put an arrow, that will potentially save 30 minutes for developer to, instead of asking you and so on. So that's why it's also important. Just a simple screenshot, arrow pointing to the problem, and that will save time, and developer will get better understanding what's going on. Sometimes when there is a weird bug that is hard to reproduce, that's why we do video recording, right? developer will not have to reach out to you, and you won't have to have a long conversation explaining how to do that. You will have a video there. Developer will just open the video. Now I know how to reproduce it and how to fix it then. And again, same rule as we had for test cases: one failure, one bug report. That's why it's really important to have one requirement covered by one test case, right? So you can track which requirement is failing. Once you have several requirements in your test case, you may have multiple problems. You have to report multiple bugs, but you cannot match one bug to one test case into one requirement, so, which is a problem. And it's mostly for the management purposes, so you can see which requirement failed and so on. But this is the rule, how to keep our work clean and see exactly, okay, those were requirements, those were our test cases, and those are bugs reported. And this is how many test cases passed, how many test cases failed. You won't have that traceability if you mix everything together, put a lot of requirements in a single test case. You may forget something. You may, if you have different test cases, it's really hard to say if you tested everything correctly, right? Because if you have separate test cases and you mark them pass separately, but then we found important bug there. So we go and open your document saying, hey, you said that you tested this, right? And since you have everything in a single test case, you cannot prove that you actually tested this because you marked the test case as pass, but what passed? If you have a lot of stuff in one single test case, it passed partially and you just missed that stuff that failed and you didn't test it properly. So it's even for you, it's hard to prove that you actually tested everything. So that's why one requirement, one test case, one bug report. It will be obvious once you break down a single sentence written by a business analyst to a single test case. Then you will understand, then you don't have to think about this rule, one failure, one bug report. Because once you have one test case fail, you report one bug report. But the work will be done when you work on the requirements. You work on the requirements, at that point, you break everything down to granular level. Because once you broke that down, that's it. It will be one failure, one bug report after that. Okay. And just last slide to explain you how backtracking system works. So once you report a lot of bugs, the bugs will be reported by you, by other people, right? Different people will be reporting a lot of bugs, and developers will need to work on those bugs. And somehow you need to understand that that bug is fixed, and you can check that is really fixed and close it, right? So somehow you need to understand that. This is how bug reporting, bug tracking systems were developed. So initially they looked like this. So there was a huge folder holder on the wall, called so-called wall organizer, right? And for example, you had your folder with your name. You had your folder with your name. So what did you do? You and other colleagues had their folders. Your manager or your QA lead had his own folder. Developers had their own folders, maybe marked different colors as here, different departments marked with different colors. And imagine the case. The agreement was you create a bug report and you assign it to your lead, and lead then defines what to do with it next. So you create it on paper, you write that on paper and put in your leads folder. So now this item is assigned to your lead, and lead is responsible for that bug report. And your colleagues do the same. They create bugs on the paper and put in leaks, your leads folder. So your lead maybe once in 30 minutes comes to this organizer and opens his folder and see, okay, I have 5 new bug reports. What to do with them? Just reads them. Okay, this is the front-end bug, so probably I will assign it to Bob. Bob is front-end lead, so put in Bob's folder, and those are back-end bugs, so I put in Michael's folder. So Michael is a back-end development lead, right? So your lead, since has more experience, knows what to do with that. There can be an agreement. You put in some front-end folder right away, because maybe you are not testing backend at all. So you just put in dev leads folder directly. So there will be an agreement, but it doesn't matter. Your responsibility will be to put in somebody's folder. Then that person is responsible for that item, for that bug report. Then dev lead comes, checks his folder. Okay, so I have 3 bug reports, and assigns to different developers. I will assign this to Mike because it has only 1 item to work on right now. And then I assign it to John because he just finished his recent item. And I won't be assigning anything to Bill because Bill still has 3 items in his queue, right? So dev lead will know what to do with that next. So what happens next? They fix it. Once they fix it, they try fixed, right? They come to that wall organizer and put in your leads folder. And then your lead says, okay, this is what raised by Sergey. So I put it in Sergey's folder. This is what was raised by Anna. So I will put this to Anna's folder. Sometimes it mixed because maybe Anna has 10 items to work on and Sergey has none. So it will put everything will be assigned to Sergey, and Sergey will work even on the bugs raised by Anna. That's another reason why everything should be super clear, because other people may work on your items in the future, and it should be clear for them as well how to test that and make sure it works. Then you come to this place once in 30 minutes, for example, again, as well, right? And you open your folder and see if there is some responsibility on your shoulders, right? And there is a bug report. Oh, and you see fixed. Okay, then you go to your computer. There is a new build available, and you just test the same bug on your computer, making sure that it's really fixed in the new build. And that's it. This is how it works. So actually the organizers that we have right now in software, because we are not using these organizers anymore, but everything moves to the software, right? So right now we are using backtracking systems like Jira, Azure DevOps, and they work the same. So there is accountability. So everybody has an account. And once there is something assigned to you, this is your responsibility, right? So when you create a bug, you assign it to somebody, for example, to your lead. Now your lead is responsible for that item, and lead has his own dashboard to check all the items assigned to me. I can just open the system and see everything assigned to me, and I get email notification when there is something assigned to me, right? So also helps me to understand, hey, there is something assigned to you and you should work on. So the main purpose of backtracking systems is accountability. So everybody has an account and is accountable for something, responsible for something. So I can create a bug report assigned to my lead. My lead gets email notification or just refreshes his dashboard and sees the problem right away. Oh, there is a new item in my queue, right? And then, okay, reads the problem. This is for Mike, assigns to Mike, right? Or for example, per your agreement, you can assign to specific developer directly, right? And so on. Maybe you are working on some specific feature that is developed by specific developer. Nobody else is working on it. So you can report all bugs that you find in this feature directly to the developer who is working this feature, which is all according to agreement. But the main person that everybody has an account and sees what they are responsible for right now at the current moment. So once they fix problem, they will assign it back to you, and you have your own dashboard. You just refresh it, and you see, okay, those are 5 items I have in my queue. 3 I know already, and those 2 are new, right? And you get email notification as well. So hey, there is one bug was assigned to you. There's another bug was assigned to you. So you see right away what you're responsible for and what you are working for. Your manager or a lead can see, okay, Michael is working on 5 items. Anna is working on 6 items, right? So everybody can see what is everybody's working on, see the performance, right? How many items you were able to report, complete, retest, and so on. And how big are those items and so on. So all of that is just to organize our work. So you will still be able to report the bug even on paper, but all those backtracking systems is just to make everybody accountable for their items and responsible. Of course, you are using that as a communication tool as well, because you can put comments. You have a bug report. It's like a post on the Facebook. It has a comment section. So you have imagine the post on Facebook as a one single bug report, right? So you have a bug report with a picture. So you have a text when you described everything, you have a picture, screenshot of the problem, and in comments, developer says, hey, I'm not able to produce it. Is this in QA environment? And then you reply in another comment, hey, this is in QA environment. Please let me record a video for you. Then you record the video and reply in another comment, hey, here's the video, please try to reproduce it according to it, right? So it's a communication tool as well. And you use it like a Facebook. You just reply in comments to a specific bug report that you just, what you want actually, right? You communicate with people through the system, backtracking system as well. And of course, as I already mentioned, you can monitor individual performance, how many items you were able to complete, what the complexity of those items, right? And so on. So you can see that you can build reports, see, hey, Anna worked on 200 bugs this month, but Sergey worked only on 3 items. What happened, right? And so on. Maybe those were 2 big, very big items and so on. So it depends. What are the names of their bug tracking applications besides Jira? So we're using Azure DevOps, as I mentioned last time, because everything in one system, so you don't have to use Jira. Jira is very popular, right? Jira is very popular, but Azure DevOps and a lot of other systems like Amazon Web Services, right? They were not popular till some specific point because people didn't know about that, right? But they become popular. So Azure DevOps was delivered not so long time ago. Jira exists for like decades, I believe, right? Since 2000 something, right? So a lot of people know that, but Jira's problem is you have to somehow make it work with other systems. You store your code in GitHub, you have to somehow connect them. You store your documentation in Notion, you have somehow to connect them, right? And work together. Once you update there, your ticket in Jira updates as well. That's why we use the Azure DevOps in our project, and I used in my previous company as well, Azure DevOps, so which is pretty good. But they pretty similar, right? Again, you open the bug report, both in Jira, both in Azure DevOps, they both will have summary, description, actual, expected, severity, priority. They are configurable. So even if you work in Azure DevOps and then you switch the company and they have Jira, you can configure your bug report form to be the same, absolutely, with the same fields as you had in the previous job in Azure DevOps. So it's not a problem at all. Again, those are the rules that we went through today. Those are important. But the system you're using, not important at all, because they are working the same. Again, they are copying, mimicking these wall organizers, right? To make you accountable, to give you communication tool and monitor your performance. So they work in general the same. Maybe the UI is different. The buttons are located in different places. Maybe the names of the buttons are different and so on. But the main purpose and how they work is the same. How do we know which environment we test in? URL will be different. So if you have facebook.com, right? QA environment will have something like qa.facebook.com, right? And other customers don't have an access to it. Only you have an access to it either through internal system or through VPN or somehow others. Developers will help you to configure that access, but the URL will be different. There will be some things that you know that, okay, this is the QA environment, right? And development will have another link like dev.facebook.com and so on. This is how it usually works, different URL. Okay, and your homework will be, but before we go to I will explain the homework, but I will then show you what you need to do. So you will need to go through your test cases that you created and mark them pass or fail. How? You just open your test case and you open the application and you see there should be 4 sections. You see on the page 4 sections, pass, then pass, 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 and so on. Once you get failure, for example, the button color should be this, and you get the different color. Then you mark it as fail, and I have a form for you to report bugs in. Again, I'm not able to add you to Azure DevOps because it's very expensive for us, but I have a form for you, bug report form I created in Google Docs. It is here, right? You open it, and you have a form. You need to fill your name, summary, steps to reproduce. It's a multi-line field, so you're able to click enter and I'll add as many things as you want. Actual result and expected result. And you're able to make a screenshot and add that file here as well. This is what you need to do. So once you find the bug, you need to report it, mention your name, then summary, steps to reproduce actual result, expected loss. According to the rules we discussed today, I will probably create a PDF file out of this presentation and send to you as well. So you have something to remember, for example, 3W rule, for example, and so on, right? So you can repeat the material from this lesson at home as well and complete the homework. So actually your goal will be to open the application. Here's the application URL, and I will open it for you. Here's the application URL, and there's 0 people in line, and I see the bug report already because the table doesn't look like it's expected, and so on. So, and you will just test the application according to the test cases that you have. And your test cases already cover the requirements, and you just go and mark them pass or fail. So how it's done, this is not my test cases. Where are my test cases? I need you find the test cases. This is not the one I'm looking for. Courses, free, where's my material? QA. Get in line, test cases. This is my template I was using last time. Yeah, for example. Oh, why this guy is empty? Let me then remove it. Delete row. For example, by navigating to the application, user can see 4 sections. I open it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, I pass it, pass. Left top section is the text area. Got it, text area, pass. Then right up section is the image. Image is there, pass. And most of your test cases will be pass. Just to let you know, it's a very bad application if you have everything failed. So most of them will be pass, but you will find some bugs anyways, because as I mentioned, nothing is ideal. Then you get again, what's next? Table, pass, get in line, pass. The page design matches the design spec. Okay, then I need to open the design spec and see. Finally, of course, this is what was done not on the laptop screen. So on the laptop screen, it will be different. So let me do one thing. Inspect. I will do this. I will do dimension responsive. Okay, and we'll simulate the like this. This is the laptop screen. Okay, and now I'll be comparing the laptop screen with this. Okay, so in general, it looks good. In general, it looks good. Okay, okay, so I can mark this as pass. It will, so the image is static, so it doesn't change the detail, but it will change based on this resolution of the screen. It may be wider, it may be smaller, especially if you do that on the tablet, right, and so on. But in general, it is good. It's expected. So I will mark it as pass. Okay, text area consists of 3 lines. Unfortunately, it's a single line, so I mark it as fail. And these 3 guys, I skip them. I mark it as an A because since I have failure here, I'm not able to test them, right? Only after developer fixes this, I will be able to actually, once I fix this, once I have 3 lines, I will be able to test these 3 guys. So for now, I just block them. It's not applicable for now because I don't have line 1, 2, and 3, right? I have only single line, which is a failure of this test case, and so on. The text area is left aligned. Let me move this. Yeah, it's a left aligned actually, but unfortunately, it's a failure right away. It's a failure, so I have to actually mark it as fail, and then I'll go and report the bug reports. What I do, I open this guy. Oh, where's that bug report form? So I say Arthur. There we go. Then, so what is my bug? What, where, and when, right? So, okay, so what? So the text area, where? On the main screen, I don't have to mention that because we have a single screen. The text area consists of 1 line, right? And when always, it's always consists of 1 line, so I don't have to mention that as well. So the text area consists of one line or single line of single line, and it's pretty short, so I can even answer instead of three. So this will be pretty clear. Even without reading the entire blog right now, I can simply understand the problem right away. How many test cases and bug reports usually we are submitting per day on average? Oh man, it depends. It depends. Sometimes you just do the manual testing and it can be 200. It can be 100. It depends on the complexity of the system. It depends on many things. So it's really hard to say. It depends. There is no requirement for you to execute specific number of test cases. The requirement is to keep yourself busy. If you're busy and you were able to test only 50 test cases, it's okay, because it's a specific work, specific application, and it's normal for that application to execute 50 test cases. But there can be some easier applications that is 50 is too low number, right? You have to execute 200, for example. So it really depends. There is no like defined number that you have to. It really depends on the project, how other people do, right? How your manager thinks, and if you keep yourself busy and how you perform. So it really doesn't matter. So Dmitry, I see that you have a question as well. Oh.
Yeah. Shouldn't we specify here the text area like on the left top corner, because text area is pretty broad and we have some pop-ups, so isn't it better to specify a bit?
Left top section. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's a good. Then we can answer the question where. Yeah, single line. So the text area in the left top section consists of single line. So you answer what happens. The text area consists of one line, and where it's a left top section, which is correct. We don't have to mention when because it's always, but again, that's correct. That is correct. Okay, good. So steps to reproduce. It will be very simple. Open the app. Take a look at the text area in the top left section, and then actual result one line of code is displayed. 3 lines. Oh, not code. 1 line of text. Sorry, professional. 3 lines of text are displayed. And also you can even precisely mention if you're not sure you develop. It depends, of course, on the project, and if you have an experience that developers are not fixing bugs pretty well, you can even mention here that something like this. Line 1, and then mention what should be in line 1, line 2 should be line 2, and so on, right? So you precisely mention what should be there. Then what I do as well, I open the app, I take a screenshot of this app, and then I can even like do this and say, and even add text, a single line instead of 3. Okay, like this. Then I just save it, say to my desktop, and then I open my bug report form, add file, select files from your device. Where is it in my desktop? Over here, open. Okay, upload. That's it. So I have my reporter name, I have summary, I have step reproduce, 1 line of text. So again, the difference should be pretty clear, and then I click submit. That's it. So my response is recorded, and I can delete and report another bug in this form, the same form as well. You can have as many answers as possible. Actually, it's better to probably reload, just open the same form again without needing to, to clear it. Okay, so this is what you do. Remember, you can do on Mac Command-Shift-4 or light shot. I recommend light shot because I'm using it. It gives you the possibility to add arrows, text, blocks, and so on. So that's very, very useful tool. And my last goal for today, besides explaining the homework, will be explain how to test something specific, for example, text size and so on. So what you need to do, since most of you already know the HTML from the previous JavaScript lesson, you do inspect. You need to click on that element that you're testing. And sometimes you find this div, but you see that your text in this div, right over here, you can expand and collapse the sections by clicking these triangles over here. So here you see that your text is in this div, right? And you eventually see this. So you select it. So there are two ways. You either find the element style and you find the text size here or color here, or you go to Computed, and Computed will have everything that is already computed from all the styles that you have here in one single line, right? So here's the color, here's the font size, font weight. It's that 400 it's a regular text, 700 it's a bold text, right? And so on, right? So I already have here the size, I already have here the color, and I have font weight over here. You don't have to care about font weight. There are some test cases, but usually it will be saying bold or 700 for bold. Everything else is regular text, like 400 is a regular text. To make it bold, you either need to specify this to 700, it's not specified. So 400 comes from the browser. Browser automatically applies 400 because it's not specified, as you can see, it's not specified here. It comes from the body, from the body style, inherited from the body. It has 400, and this is specified precisely from this text. And that's it. So what else? We can inspect the image over here. So you can find the alt text over here and check it if it's correct. Width is 600. Oh, you can see the size over here. You can hover over the image and you see that it's showing the size over here, 6 by 336.33, right? You can see the size over here. What else? You can see the size over here, right? And so you can see it in many places. Either you able to find it in CSS styles, or you go to Computed, or you hover over the element and it will show you the size over here. So there are many cases. So you can use whatever you can. You already know the CSS, so you should be able to find the styles over here. Use Computed for everything you cannot find, because it will have everything about this element, even if it comes from different. For example, we just saw the case that the style comes from body, because style applied from the entire body. That means entire thing, all the elements that are in the body, which means everything on the website, should have by default font weight 400. So all the text will be 400 weight, which is regular text, unless different is specified. If specific text specifically made 700, that only text will be bold. All the other text will be 400. So this is how inheritance works. So, but you either have to find this here, that it comes from body, or you go to Computed and see what is applied over here. Again, for the text, if it's not applied, it will be crossed, right? So color is not applied. Why? Because body has this color text, but this element precisely has this color. So this is not applied for this text anymore, but this applies, right? Font size was 1 rem, but since this guy has specifically 50 pixels, this font from the body is not working. Font size 50 pixels will be applied because it's specifically specified for this element. And you can find everything in Computed. Computed has the latest style that is applied to this element, and so on. So what else you can find here? Oh, the button, same thing. You inspect the button. Here's the button. You see styles. You see the background color over here. Color is just color is a text, as you remember from the CSS lesson. It's just a text, a white color. This is the button background color. This is the color that is applied over here. I don't know why it says like this. Inspect. Maybe we'll need to. Oh, here's the button. Actually, you select the button, and it will show you the color of the button, the color of the text, whatever we need to have here as well. Maybe font size 14 pixels is here as well. So as you can see, Computed is better, but if you're able to see in styles, I don't care, right? So for me, it's just matter if you able to check it or not. And again, remember, if you're not able to find something or you're confused with something, just feel free to send a message in the text or text in the chat. This is how we work. Once you got a job, you will also have a team chat where you will be asking all the questions. Hey guys, everybody knows that you are new to the system, right? So you will be able to ask any questions. Same here. I know that you are new to this, so any questions are okay. Don't think, because the main problem that people have, that they think, oh, I don't want to feel stupid asking such questions. No, you never feel stupid, because this is the course, and the course is the best place to ask questions. You ask questions right now to not ask them later when you get a job, to not feel stupid then. So ask them right now, because this is okay to ask questions now. Once you're not able to test something, hey, I'm not able to check this test case. How can I do that? How to find that size? How to find that the text is bold? How to find the color of the button? How to find something else? Feel free to ask that in the chat. That chat is for you to ask questions. So that's pretty much it for today. So again, remember, the first lesson we worked on the requirements and test case creation. This lesson is about test execution and bug reporting. So your goal will be open your test cases and execute all of them. Mark them either pass, fail, or NA. If, for example, you cannot test this because, oh man, because there is a previous test case fails that blocks the execution of these ones. Once you have 3 lines of code, 3 lines of text, sorry, then you will be able to test these guys, right? And so on. So you can mark them as an A and continue testing the text area left line, pass, and so on. And then if you have failed, you report the bug in the form. So I will make a PDF out of this document and will send it to you. So you'll be able to get the links to the course, to the application, link to the forum to report bugs. And of course, don't forget to install Lightshot to make a screenshots and attach them to the forum as well. How to inspect, just showed you how to inspect. In case you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And that's it. You are nearly test engineers. Questions?
Excuse me, it's for next Monday.
This is for next Monday, yeah. Till automation. Yeah, I believe automation is the next Monday. Yeah. So manual homework is from one manual lesson to another manual lesson. So you didn't have to focus on JavaScript. You didn't have to focus on JavaScript lesson until today. You can focus on that till Thursday, right? Because you get another lesson on Thursday. Okay, Anna, I see your hand.
Yes, I have one question. How to fill the form?
You open the form.
No, not this form, in our website.
Oh, you need to click the button.
Oh, okay, and that's it. Okay.
Just click the button and then you get the form. Seems like somebody didn't read the requirements well. I will check your test cases now for sure.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Vyacheslav, I see your hand as well.
Yes, Artur. After your feedback, I understand that I have to make a lot of changes on my requirements test case.
Mhm.
So if I right understand, we have to fill to cover all the requirements before, and then we had to add the bug report.
No. You just, once you get failure, then you report bug report right away. You don't have to execute all of them. You report, execute, pass. Once you get failure, then go and report right away.
Okay. How can I get on a table? I mean, the result of our homework. You know, because you checked only 3 students today on our lessons.
Yeah.
For example, you're going to be check my my homework, and how you're going to be share us about the results. I mean, we have to add something. We have to change in our homework before.
I will reach out if I have some questions. I will reach out to you personally to you, and we'll write you in the personal message. Hey, saying, hey, I just checked your test cases. So there are 2 cases. If you submitted your homework, right?
Yeah.
Submit your homework. I reach out to you personally and say, hey, there is something really bad, right? Because what I did today, I didn't check somebody's specific test cases. I provided like a general feedback to all of you. Hey, this is how we use the test design techniques and so on. Based on my feedback, you make fixes in your test cases. And then if there is something really bad, I will reach out directly to you saying, hey, Vyacheslav, I just checked your test cases and this is really needs to be fixed. If there is a minor problems like, hey, you put 2 test cases in one, right? That's a minor problem. And the goal of this free course is not to check every single little thing, right, for you. The goal is just for you to understand QA and understand if this is something you would like to do, because there are a lot of things more to learn, right? So I won't be like precisely checking everything. I will check that in general it's good based on my feedback today, or it's really bad, and then I will reach out to you. So if I'm not reaching out to you and you submitted your homework, that means you are in that table already. Because if there is something bad that I cannot add you to the table, I will reach out to you until you fix that problem. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Anna, I see your hand again.
Yes, I improved my question. Okay, you said I need fill out. I need try just 0, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
But how to do here? Just take line and first, second, third, yeah.
Yeah, so you have 0 right now. There can be a case. This is the applications that all of you use. Once somebody adds a patient, you all will see the same patient. So the 0 case you have to test already. Or if somebody will be late with testing 0 cases, just skip it. And later I can make it for you. For example, if in the future you get a job and you have some specific test to do, but it will block other users. For example, we were improving the page when our system is down, right? When we have some server restart or something like that. So how to test that page? I go to developers, say, hey, I have to restart our server in order to see that page. So I write in general chat, hey guys, our system will be unavailable for the next 10 minutes, right? And then I sit with developer, he says, okay, restarting. I just refresh page, see that page, make a screenshot, check whatever I need, and then maybe I need more than 10 minutes, right? Because I need to inspect elements and report bugs. So I say, hey, I need more time, do not turn it on again. And then when I say I'm done, developer turns that on, and then other people able to use the system again. In this case, same thing can happen. By the time you sit and start testing, there are like 7 users, right? Already, and you need to test 0. Just type it in a text and I'll say, okay, guys, in like 5 minutes, I'm going to remove all the users. So you will be able to test 0. And
Yes,
then you add 7 patients, right? And then you say in the chat, hey guys, I just added 7. Whoever wants to see how it looks when there are 7 patients, you have like 30 minutes, right? Then everybody who can comes and test 7. Then you add 8 patients and test 8 patients. The others can test with 8 patients as well, and so on, right? So this is how it works. The other people will be testing the form, so we'll be adding more users. So it's all about communication. It's all about your cooperation with developers when you need to simulate specific case. So you'll be just reaching out to me saying, hey, Arthur, I need to simulate this case. Hey, I need to simulate that case, right? And so on. This is
okay, I got it. It was clear, but I mean, I can't skip 2, 3, 4, 5. Like in our lesson, you said you don't need try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just 0, 7, and 8. But here it's unavailable, yeah?
Yeah, you will have to add 7 patients. You will have to add 1, then register again, 2, and register again.
Yes, it was my question, yeah.
You will get 7, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Okay, then thank you guys. Thank you for participating. Was very glad to see all of you here. Personally think that this is very proactive group, probably the best group in terms of proactivity, especially in the free course, because usually people who come on the main course, they know what they pay money for, they're more motivated because they know I paid money, I have to learn this. But people coming to free course, usually a lot of people, they just are not motivated. Just, you know, I will come to listen, I will not do anything. But seeing like 22 homeworks done by today, it's amazing, because usually there are people who send them later, but seeing like 22 done by today, it's like, I can tell that's amazing. So thank you for working on that. Thank you for being proactive. That's a good thing. And remember, if you do all the homeworks, we will give you a big discount, just like an investment for your proactivity and investment in your future. So thank you for that.
I think that's the reason.
Yeah, that's actually, you know, win-win situation. For us, it's good because we like that people are motivated. We have problems with not motivated people. We have to push them. We have to spend more time with them. We have to, at the end, tell them you have to go, right? I had a student who paid for the 3rd month, but he was not completing the homework. So I said, I will give you money back, but I cannot continue keeping you on the course because you're just not completing the homework. You are demotivating other students and you are demotivating teacher, and teacher has to spend a lot of time with you additionally. So it's like a lot of cons with you. So I have to actually remove you from the course. And he said, okay, I agree, and I will come to the next course. But yeah, this is what happens. So in order to have the motivated group, in order to keep the teacher's time efficient, we have to have these motivated people. If all of you motivated, we will give you another motivation. Hey, we'll give you a discount. Just do that homework. Just do that, because this is the main thing that you need to do. If you just come to lessons, ask questions until you get full understanding, then you will be able to complete the homework quickly. And that's all 3 things that you need to get a job. That's all. That's it. Because our homeworks will include the resume and job application work and everything else as well. So once your homework, hey, this is the template we give you. This is the rules we give you. We discuss everything. We have a specific lesson, how to create a resume, how to rebuild your previous experience, maybe not related with IT, into IT experience. And then we have next lesson, which is overview your resume and then give you suggestions how to improve it. Then we have a next lesson, how to actually finalize your resume to make it like perfect, right? And all those lessons will include the homework, something like, hey, use the template plus these rules plus the LinkedIn job descriptions to create your resume. So your goal is to create a resume. Then the next, this is our feedback, change this, change this, change this, change this. And this is your homework, and you have to complete it. Then your next goal, your resume is final, go and apply for 20 positions to the next lesson. And this is your homework, and you go and apply. And you just find yourself in the spot when you get a job by just completing the homeworks. And if you do just that, that's it. Just a very easy path to success. But you have to come to lessons, ask questions, and complete homeworks. And that's it. Done. Okay, guys. Thank you for participating. See you on Thursday. Maybe it won't be me, but maybe will be I don't know, but we'll see. 90% that it will be me, according to my agreement with Sergey, but maybe it will be Sergey, but we'll see. Either of us will give you a good lesson. So see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.